before we start the meeting formally, I think seeing the gold medal for the U.S. In women's gymnastics was outstanding. I think that was certainly inspiring, but also dropping out of the Olympics and putting a highlight on mental health issues, I also thought was a very positive thing to come out of Tokyo this week. So for whatever it's worth. We'll call the meeting to order. I welcome all the directors of the foundation and the foundation sponsors that are observing the meeting. We're going to invite the directors to unmute, introduce themselves to establish a quorum. Then we'll get into the business. So I'll turn it over to Kevin right now. We'll just go down through. I think is a protocol, should they raise their hand or just unmute for the introduction, which is really kind of a roll call? What works for you guys?
You mean Robert's rules doesn't speak to Zoom?
The functionality we'll use for voting on any motions will be the hand raise, which you can find in your reactions. Is that correct, Judy?
Yep.
Yeah, but
Yep.
so when you hit the reactions button at the bottom, I mean, if you're on a PC, it should be across the bottom. If you're on your phone, it's going to be somewhere else. But there's a bunch of different reactions, but the raise hand is the best. That'll give us a uniform thing in the participants box that will show us who's voted and who's here. So I think that maybe we could do that, Caroline, unless you want to go through an active roll call. But if we have any
Kevin,
actors raise their hand.
Yeah, Kevin, my thought was that all the directors should raise their hand, and then you can call on each one of them, and that when you call on them, they can unmute themselves. That way we don't get feedback. We don't have 2 or 3 directors stepping on each other introduce themselves at the same time. So why don't we try that? So if all the directors will raise
This is
it.
Bill.
Go
This
ahead.
is Bill Hansel in Oregon. I'm participating only by audio, so I can't raise my hand.
Well, we got your phone, Bill. Welcome. Good morning.
Bill, you're the first one to introduce yourself. And by the way, Senator
Okay.
Bramble, that's a great idea to do it that way. So we'll let Kevin look at whose hands are raised and call on them and go that way.
Well, Tim, this is the very first Zoom meeting I've been on today.
Today.
All right, and Judy will keep track of the count to make sure we have quorum, but I'm just going to run through my list as it appears. So John Heining is first.
Hello, everyone. And I'm John Heining. I'm the immediate past staff chair of NCSL and also the secretary of the foundation. So very glad to be here.
All right, thank you. And Chris?
Oh, Chris Rungi Chaco. I am the Director of the Public Employees Division at the American Federation of Teachers.
Thank you. Senator Miller?
Jeremy Miller, State Senator, Minnesota.
Annika?
Hi, Annika Hagenson with Intuit and a brand new foundation board member.
Welcome, Annika. David Casey?
David Casey from Maximus. Great to be here today. Thanks.
Jen Stowe?
Hi, I'm Jen Stowe with the Carpet and Rug Institute. Nice to see everybody.
John Burton?
Hey, good afternoon. Good morning. John Burton with RELX.
Michelle Peacock?
Hi, everyone. Michelle Peacock. I'm head of global public policy for Waymo and a new board member.
Welcome. Mark Giuffre?
Hey, everyone. Mark Giuffre with UPS and the foundation board member.
Ethan Wilson?
Hi, everybody. Ethan Wilson with Catalyst Group and a new board member. Happy to be here.
Welcome, Ethan. Jennifer Jones? Jennifer, you here? All right, well, I'll keep moving down the list, and if you might be having trouble with your mic. Lynn Butler,
I am Lynn Butler with AT&T and a board member.
Raul,
Good morning, everyone. Raul Burciaga, Director, New Mexico Legislative Council Service, and past staff chair of NCSL Executive Committee.
I think a couple others come on since we started this. Danielle, did we get you yet?
Hi, I'm Danielle Waterfield. I'm with the Institute of Scrap Recycling Industries, board member, and happy to be here.
I think Representative Pupolo, you just joined us.
Yes, I did. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are, but great to be here. Angelo Pupolo, State Representative from Massachusetts, currently the House Chair of the Export Development Committee. Very pleased to be here and certainly participate in the foundation meeting. And hello to Danielle. We met in Puerto Rico. It's good to see you.
Senator Duff, I think you joined as well in the middle of introductions.
I did. Good afternoon, everybody. Bob Duff, State Senator from Connecticut, representing Norwalk and Darien, and the Senate Majority Leader. Thanks.
All right. Do we have any other or board members who have joined who did not get the chance to introduce themselves?
It looks like in the chat we have Jennifer Jones says she's here, just no audio or video.
I see Senator Alvaredo's on here too. Ralph, you want to?
Sure, yeah, Ralph Alvarado, State Senate from Kentucky. Great to be here.
Morning. And it looks like
AJ
we've got
Gentry.
Martha Wigton here as well. Do we have any other directors that are with us that have not yet introduced themselves?
I think I saw Joe Testa, David Casey, and JJ Gentry.
No, we saw Casey a minute ago.
Yeah, we saw it today, but you're right. I think, and it's Sabrina, are you?
Sabrina's here too. Good call.
Yeah.
Oh. Sabrina Llewellyn, Deputy Director and Assistant Secretary of the Arkansas Senate, and a new board member. Thank you.
Welcome, Sabrina.
And JJ Gentry, Staff Attorney for the South Carolina Senate and current Vice Staff Chair.
It looks like we have Maureen Reel here as well. Welcome.
And Ethan, did you get called on or did I miss you?
I did. Yeah, I got called on.
Yeah, we
Oh,
got
okay.
Ethan.
It was your second chance. Could we?
Maureen,
we'll
Maureen, do
take
you
a
want to
little-
introduce, hang on a second. Maureen, do you want to introduce yourself to the new members?
Certainly. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the new directors. We're thrilled to have a wonderful new class coming. I think I know most of you, but in case I missed anyone, Maureen Reel. I'm with Multi-State Associates in Alexandria, Virginia, and about to finish my time on the foundation board. So I know we're turning this over to the best of hands. I'll miss you all, but you have me for a few more months. So I'm excited for that. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. It appears, Tim, that we do have a quorum. Is that correct, Kevin?
We have 25 members on right now.
Okay. And our quorum requirement is?
20, I think.
Yeah, that's, okay.
Yeah.
The first item of business will be approval of the minutes from the meeting that took place on Friday, February 5th. You'll find in the board material, pages 4 to 16, the minutes. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes, and then if there's any discussion on those minutes, we'll have a discussion and then we'll go to a vote. As Kevin said, the way we'll vote is board members, just board members, will use the reactions tab to raise your hand, and staff will do the tally on the vote. So do we have a motion on approval of the minutes?
Move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Who seconded?
Bob Duff.
Thank you, Senator. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, let's go ahead and I'll call the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Do we have a tally on the votes, Kevin?
16 ayes, 17, 18.
So it is, any in opposition? At this point, lower your hands. If there's any in opposition, raise your hand.
Senator Hansel votes yes.
Well, instead of raising your hand, I'll just ask verbally. Does anyone oppose the motion to approve the minutes? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. The next item on our agenda is a president's report. And I'd like to go over some highlights. You'll find in the full president's report on pages 17 to 19 in the book. But I just want to hit a few of the highlights. As has been seems to be a reoccurring tradition with the foundation, we went over our goal, notwithstanding COVID and all the other challenges. We went over our fundraising goal by nearly $1 million and reduced spending, which allowed us to make significant supplemental awards for fiscal year 2021 of just over $1 million. And we'll get into the programs and approvals. We have a very long list of both supplemental awards and new awards that we'll be talking about later. But it's really been remarkable. We have 5 Capital Circle sponsors, a new level, $50,000 that was created this year. You recall, was it a year ago or a year and a half ago that we had the discussion about creating this, Tim?
It was over a year and a half ago, and we just implemented it just this year because we put it on pause.
It was without some concerns, and then we went into COVID, and it looks like it's producing some remarkable results. We have 47 platinum sponsors. 11 are new, 3 are upgrades. We have 37 new sponsors overall. As I indicated, 11 platinum, 12 gold, 14 silver. All current Capital Circle sponsors are upgrades for fiscal year 2021, but we already have 2 new commitments for 2022 that are brand new to NCSL. So as we go through this, the highlights, this is really a tribute. We have, it seems like just yesterday, Bill Pound was at the helm and Tim was dealing with leaders and whatever. Tim, you've been in the saddle now, what, 2 years?
Just over 2 years, that's right.
And between you and Caroline and Stacy and the whole team, this is absolutely remarkable, particularly given that we've been challenged in an unprecedented way with COVID. And whether you're from a red state, a blue state, whether you're from a company that has various requirements or a company that has different requirements. I saw in the news some restaurant, and I think in New York or whatever, wants you to prove that you're unvaccinated before you can do business with them. But given all of the controversy, this is just probably one of the most remarkable reports that I've seen in my 20 years of being associated with NCSL. Sponsor benefits from the last fiscal year. We have NCSL base camp registrations, Leader Symposium in Miami and Puerto Rico for Platinum and Capital Circle levels, NCSL Officer Roundtable breakout sessions last December, sponsor priority calls throughout the year with key NCSL staff, sponsor spotlights to NCSL Today highlighted each week, and thank you gifts to Gold, Platinum, and Capital Circle, Yeti mugs and NCSL branded backpacks. So we have a couple of action items, and I think we'll come back to the action items. Tim, I think we should probably do that after you give your report. So that concludes the highlights. Let me turn it now to our Executive Director, Tim Story, for his director's report.
Thank you, Senator Bramble. I will. But the first thank you of many thank yous that we will be covering in the next few minutes, an hour, to you. Coming at the last minute, we called on you as we found out, as everyone in this business knows, circumstances change constantly. We live in a world of constant and short notice change. And so Senator Garcia could not be our president chair today. And actually Speaker Voss, who was, I touched base with him, and he was being pressed, and he was supposed to be here, and he was being pressed into fundraising service. He said he would far prefer to be with us, but it was an offer he could not wiggle out of. So he said his regrets, and thank goodness we're like, well, who is the best suited to step in on no notice and handle this? And so Kurt, as your friend and somebody who really appreciates everything you've done for NCSL, man, we can't tell you how much we appreciate you. Like, okay, I'll do it. And I know you were scrambling flying this morning, I understand.
Yeah, I just got off a flight from Las Vegas. It was delayed 2 hours. Like I did tell Caroline, I told her when I got on the plane, don't panic. I'm going to land well before 10 o'clock. They then delayed the flight. And I got here at 10:30 and was online 20 minutes later.
Scrambling to get there. So you appear to be at the Capitol or someplace that's.
No, I'm at my office at the Capitol.
Yeah. So thanks for doing it. Again, on very short notice. So we you're like one of those utility tool infiller guys, can kind of do anything, and we really do appreciate it. So let me talk about a couple of things NCSL wide, just kind of that update, and then in a few minutes I'll kind of touch base on the different awards we're going into. But you really, Senator Bramble, highlighted a couple of the key things that we live in this world of just unpredictableness, and we continue to be in what they call VUCA. In the leadership realm and the military, it's a military word, uncertainty all around us. And so we are thriving in this environment, and cannot say enough about the foundation team, Caroline and Kevin and Judy, a small and mighty team backed up with a lot of help from other NCSL staff. But what they have done with the foundation sponsors and working with you folks is just incredibly striking. We had no expectation that we would do as well as we've done, and it's positioned us tremendously in a tremendously positive posture moving forward. And that would be sort of the key thing I'd get across is the NCSL, the organization, our participation with the support of the foundation, which is absolutely key to what we're working on right now, is in really terrific shape across the board. We are seeing very strong dues participation from the states, bordering on unprecedented support on the dues, because as you know, we're sort of funded through really three primary mechanisms that support the work of NCSL, the dues that the state legislatures pay, the grants and contracts that we get, and then this foundation support, which is a growing and vital piece of NCSL's operations. And so we are just in a really solid budgetary position. We have been, moving through some budgetary challenges and getting rid of some of our negative cash balance, and we are really postured as in a strong place that we have not been in for quite a while. So I think of like the NCSL update really sort of two categories. One, where are we fiscally? That's always a big concern to any CEO, executive director. And then where are we in terms of participation as an association? Because that's the other big metric that I look at to like, okay, what is our current status? Are we in the red, yellow, green categories? So the dashboard is really showing all green lights right now. And that is also true on participation. We are seeing remarkable participation and demand on NCSL services, which is another way to look at, are we meeting the needs of state legislatures and private sector partners across the board. All of the meetings that we're planning and trying to stand up are showing outstanding early registration numbers, where I think we're close to topping 1,000 for the Tampa Summit, which is no small feat, because we had to move this summit from Chicago to Tampa with no notice. This is unprecedented, the word that we have completely worn out over the past 18 months, and we continue to be in unprecedented places. Various other meetings are showing attendance and participation that is far exceeding what we thought they might be. The recent redistricting meeting sort of blew the doors off. Over 450 people attended that in beautiful Salt Lake City. and some of the staff meetings are showing incredible registration that we've got coming up, including the Legislative Staff Management Institute. We had to create 2 cohorts for that because we had such a strong interest in participating, something definitely supported strongly by the foundation. So when I look at these metrics and I try to see, okay, how are we doing? Where are we? Everything is in the green high level, which this is all very positive. And I don't mean to just sort of say everything's rosy and Pollyanna, but it kind of is. We are in a really great place right now. So that's a fun report to give when you look across the board. We also have to acknowledge that we continue to live in the world of COVID. And it is also uncertain where we go. And of course, the last week or two have given a strong reminder to all of us that, we're fighting with all the tools we have, and, the public health authorities are stretched to their limits and doing, phenomenal work. So all of this is in the context of we live in COVID's world. We continue to live in the world of the virus and other pathogens that live among us. And we will be constantly monitoring those and seeing where we go. And the other, I was talking about meeting participation. This is a little bit of a non sequitur shift back to that. The leaders meeting that's scheduled for Ireland, where I understand Maureen is today. Is that right? Somebody mentioned that she was in Ireland, award for longest participation. By the way, it's probably about 7:30 p.m. there, so she's probably anxious to head out to the pub. Our leaders meeting in Ireland appears to be probably the largest we've ever held. Already the registration is at over 75 and far and away I'm sorry, I got a little pop-up box, is already going to exceed by far the largest leaders gathering we've ever done. And these are, including many and probably a record number of the top figures in each chamber, the speakers, Senate presidents, and majority leaders. So we are extremely optimistic about that. It, of course, presents some problems because when attendance far exceeds what we anticipate, then we have to roll with the punches, so to speak, and adapt and make it work, which we do. That's what we're all about, is making it work, keeping in mind that it's all about you folks, both the legislators, legislative staff, and the people in the foundation who allow us to do what we do. So that's really the big highlights. Like I said, we're strong on budget and fiscal matters. We're strong on participation, and we are the services of NCSL that you support are in dramatically high demand. We are getting tons of requests and research things that are coming at us from all over the place, and we could not do it without you guys. So on behalf of the NCSL staff, many of whom are on this call, but it's the advantage of this virtual format, which, by the way, we are certainly optimistic might be the last virtual meeting of the foundation board. So let's all hope that we move beyond this really soon. And but on behalf of the staff who are on here, who, let me just tell you, have done incredible work throughout the pandemic, and like many people, the feels like the demands just went up and up and up because of the need to look at public policy and what legislators do best, which is solve problems. So grateful for that. I'll leave it there, Senator Bramble, and I know I'll be coming back to talk about the awards, but hey, once again, thank you for jumping in. You're the best. Appreciate it.
Well, NCSL is just like Hotel California. You can check out, but you can never leave.
We hope.
Okay, let's go to Caroline Carlson to give the budget report. The budget is in an attachment it's separate from the budget book. It was sent to just members of the board of directors. So Caroline.
Thank you, Senator Bramble, and thanks, Tim, for that report. And then we've got, Kevin put the budget up for everybody to review so observers can see it as well. So as everyone has been speaking to, we did have a tremendous year. When we were budgeting about a year ago, it was the beginning of COVID and we had not made goal. We were really close to making goal, but we were shy of goal. And so we had a very conservative revenue goal for this FY21 of $2,050,000. And gratefully, with all the foundation support and with that new Capital Circle level and just so many new sponsors coming in at the platinum level, more than likely due to the fact that we had those 2 leader meetings this past year. We blew that goal out of the water and went over 3 million for the first time in the foundation's history when we went over $3 million. So we're just so thrilled to report that. And because we went over goal, we will have those supplemental awards for you to review for FY21 of slightly over $1 million. And Tim will go through that list. But essentially, I want you to see where our request was for FY21 and where our projected is. And we're accounting under, you can see the revenue lines pretty easily there, but in terms of the foundation awards and administration, that number is higher in anticipation of the board approving those awards. So the 2,995,936 includes the 1,000,005 in awards, so supplementals. So hopefully that makes sense, which then just puts us kind of slightly revenue over expenses of $24,000. So otherwise we would be holding on to $1 million. And why would we do that? We want to make sure that NCSL is able to give back to those programs. So, and then in looking at the FY22 projected, that is a little bit different because we are anticipating having a staff person in DC, the metro area. And then we're also, Kevin, can you go to the detail on the second page? So that line for salary is higher for next year. And then we're also, you know, I bet everybody's feeling this. We've got a lot of meetings this fall. So we've increased our travel line. And then in anticipation of our Tampa meeting, the legislative summit in Tampa, we are also giving our meetings program dollars to help offset those complimentary registrations that we do. And of course, we're also hoping to have our dinner again, which we normally would do at the Capitol Forum, but we're looking at other dates to do that this winter. So that's essentially the FY22 request. Because we anticipate having a revenue stream higher even next year as we implemented a dues increase starting July 1 that the board approved in Austin, January 2020. We did sort of have a soft unveiling of that in July of this, well, July 1st. And sponsors are paying that in some cases. I'd say it's about 50-50 right now. Sponsors are paying either at their original rate or that increase. And we believe that we'll be at around $3,250,000 for FY22. So Kevin, do you mind scrolling back to the overview page? And so that's our request for FY22. And with that increase in revenue, we anticipate being able to award even more back to NCSL for over $2 million. And that is the largest grant back in awards to NCSL. So I'm going to now turn it back to Senator Bramble to see if anybody has any questions on the budget.
Okay, if you have any questions, raise your hand. I see Tim Story raising his hand.
I just want to emphasize one thing. One, let's pause for a second and recognize that in the year of COVID and all of that, the foundation went over $3 million in collections for the first time ever. I mean, that is, I wish we could be together to toast this occasion. And
how do you do a round of applause?
Yeah.
Zoom meeting.
Not effectively, I think is the answer to that.
Yeah,
but,
really.
It's phenomenal, and we just got to really note that. And then I feel like this is the only, like, you know, if you're in sports or enterprises, that certainly there are other jobs like this, but the reward for success is more pressure to succeed at the same level. So you see, we have now we're projecting an even higher success rate, and of course we are at the whims of the economy and COVID and all of that. But let's just once again honor that Caroline and Kevin and Judy are, and hopefully they'll find a new partner in DC as we embark on that search. That we expect phenomenal things, and they continue to deliver phenomenal things. So that's it. Thanks, Kurt.
In that spirit, Tim, you know, each of us that have served as president of NCSL become president of the foundation in the year that we're the past president. And every year, I mean, I've watched this now for a decade and a half. And when I was president of the foundation, in my normal rotation, we set a goal and we exceeded it. It was nowhere near $3 million. I mean, this is just phenomenal. Mr. Casey, you're up.
Mr. Chair, I just want to echo what Tim said, but Caroline and Kevin's work is just absolutely incredible. I work with a lot of associations and, as you know, only do work with government. And their leadership ability to help navigate, provide assistance and support is second to none. And I just really want to call out the excellent work because it's directly related to their leadership. I mean, obviously, Tim, and the work that you're doing, but Caroline and Kevin, great work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Okay, let's go. Tim, do you want to go over? Caroline and I talked about the supplemental awards and the proposed new awards. We could go over every one of them, and that would take an extraordinary amount of time. Do you want to hit a couple of highlights on the supplementals, and then you've touched on a few already, and then what we'll do is we'll go back to the board for any questions on the supplemental. Then we'll move to a motion to approve the supplementals for 2021.
Yeah, thanks, Senator Bramble. I'm glad Kevin's putting this up. We will, a couple of background pieces here. We have been changing how we do the internal grant awards internally, what we request of staff who will be kind of responsible for the budgets once the grants are made, the awards are made. So we're definitely taking some new approaches to how we do this and really weighing very carefully what makes it in and maybe what's not the right fit for the foundation mission and support of NCSL. Of course, these are the supplemental because we far exceeded, a 50% increase in what we had projected, being in that time of not knowing what to expect over the next 12 years in a fiscal year. So it has been different. You'll also note there are some more crooked numbers here than you might have seen in past years, because we realized that there are, when grants are made, there are administrative costs to that. And typically those are indirect costs we get from grant makers, which include accounting and oversight and infrastructure support. So we've actually factored some of that into these grants. So this includes small portions, roughly 10%, that will go to what are called indirect costs, which will be very helpful to sort of administering these things. Let me touch on a few of these. Again, these are the supplementals. We tried to think of these in terms of things that would be done mostly one time, not sort of things we might continue over a year or two or more. And the biggest one that jumps out, of course, so I'll start there, is NCSL Legislative Summit networking support. Well, what is that? Well, you can scroll down if you've got these. Don't do that, Kevin. Stay on the screen. But if you've got these, you can look at the little summaries below. And maybe if there's a way to put the link to this in the chat, so if people don't have it handy, they can do it. They can click in and go down and see the descriptions of these. But this $275,000 is partly due to the fact that Tampa is a creature we have not dealt with before, which is to say we were planning it on the fly. We did not anticipate this, and we don't have a host state situation. So typically we would very graciously be working with a host state legislature who would be underwriting much of the social aspects of the summits, or maybe for many people as important as some of the substantive sessions that we do. But we don't have that. We couldn't go to the Florida legislature and say, hey, we're going to bring, many thousand people, 3, 4, 5,000 people to Tampa, and we need you to, fund us to the tune of $1 million, which is about what we asked the host states to do. In fact, a little more than that. So we need to come at this creatively. And one of the things is we didn't want to just have Ritz crackers and self-sliced cheese as the social event and water. This 275 is to support one of the two major social events where we bring everybody together. And at the personal request of the slightly pyromaniac executive director of NCSL, there will be fireworks. So we'll have fireworks over the water and some entertainment and of course food and beverage. So hopefully this will be a one-time thing. We're sort of starting to work in the world of more limited host states because of some of the restrictions on legislatures. We don't want to just limit the summit to the states that can raise that kind of money to be a host state. So something we're thinking through. A few other things I'll emphasize. Many of the grants, both in the supplemental and in the awards for FY22, are directly related to our strategic plan, which we will be releasing soon, I think. I hope. We will be releasing that soon. And that includes civility in the legislative process, civil and bipartisan conversations. These were all things, and some of the additional communication support that we need. We have great experts on our staff. We're not always able to translate great expertise into great communication. So that's something we're going to work hard on, both graphically as well as presentation styles and skills. So we're going to be working that pretty hard. There's also, as you'll see, a lot of new support for some staff programs for legislative staff, including the new program for senior staff directors, a new program for chiefs of staff, for presiding officers, top leaders. And we'll also see some other staff support in the next round of awards that we're going to request. And then there's also one last thing, is this recruiting and hiring evaluation. I mean, it's, you know, not one of the, it's kind of one of the middle grants, but it just wanted to, you might wonder, what is that? Again, you can look in your screen and scroll down and see what it is if you've got the book open. But quickly, we are in an extremely competitive hiring environment at NCSL, and we want to get just some consultation and support around not only how to, you know, make sure we're presenting NCSL in a way that's attractive and attracts the right kinds of folks, because not everybody is the right sort of staff to work in the nonpartisan, bipartisan world that we are so firmly committed to. And also a major issue, like it is for many employers, is diversity of our staff and DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. So we're looking for someone who can give us, you know, really good advice and guidance on how to make that a big emphasis. We're fortunate we have a diverse staff, but we can always do better. So we're going to continue to emphasize that. So Senator Bramble, I would turn it back to you and say if there are any questions about any specific things. We would be more than happy to answer them. And if I can't, I know there are other people on the call that can, but that's just that's the top level overview.
Before we go to a motion, are there questions from any of the board members concerning the supplemental, the fiscal year 21 supplemental awards? We had the entire list on the screen. Tim, I appreciate the summary on a few of those. Any questions, board members? I don't see, no, I don't see the full part. Well, yeah, scanning down, I don't see any hands raised. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve the fiscal year 2021 the proposed supplemental awards as has been presented.
So moved.
So moved. Second, Mark Giuffre.
Second.
Okay. Caroline, did you get who the motions in the second? Okay. Discussion on the motion. I don't see any hands. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Okay. As we did on the motion for the minutes, if you're opposed, turn on your mic and vote your opposition. Hearing no opposition, I'll rule the motion passes unanimously. Tim, let's move next to the fiscal year 22, the new awards. I want you to do the same thing. Give us a high level, the highlights, then we'll go to questions, and then we'll go to a motion.
Great, thank you. So yeah, if Kevin will put that up, and again, if we can put the link to the summaries in the chat, I think that would be helpful too, if one of you guys are cranking on that. The first thing I call attention to is that bottom line, $2.2 million in awards to NCSL. Man, this is just phenomenal. I mean, I'm running out of superlatives to express this, but and what this allows us to do to better serve legislators and the institution across the board on our mission is hard to overstate, especially at a time when we're exploring how our revenue is structured. one of the top goals of the strategic plan is to look at revenue sources and, what's the right complement. And the foundation support is just absolutely vital to that. And hopefully it's a two-way street that, we want to make sure that the sponsors who put their faith in us are also getting what they need in terms of support back from NCSL. And I was so heartened to hear Dave Casey say that he's so grateful for the support that we give, because we want to really stand out on that. We know that you have a choice of airlines to fly on, and many of you fly on all airlines, but we want to make sure your experience with us is really great and that we're listening to you and taking care of you as our sponsors. This tends to be a handful of things that are more sort of the continuing category, that are sort of vital things we are able to do, like a strong support for institutional research, which you'll see in here. It's the second one, Center for Legislative Strengthening, $220,000 that supports a wide range of deep research into what legislatures are all about and how they can be more efficient, more effective. And there are strains on the institution. I think we're all aware of that. And we're committed to being part of the solution and figuring out how this institution of the legislature, which has been around for centuries, continues to thrive and makes it into the next century, or the next half century for that matter. And again, like the Ethics Center, top of the line there, something we have always shown a strong commitment to and will continue to. These are some of the larger ones. And then we just hit a few themes here. If you look through the descriptions, you're going to see a big investment in our staff in terms of some new professional development, some new funding to help them expand their exposure to other ideas and other ways of running meetings, other ways of doing research. This was a major emphasis for me as executive director to, plow some resources back into our staff, who are pretty darn good across the board, but always capable and able to improve. So you'll see that in a number of these awards. Another thing is we've got a handful of sort of technical things. Our web platform upgrade, which is that second from the bottom, is something that is long overdue. Our website is kind of going along on a platform that is multiple versions behind. And so we want to, pour some resources into that and get it back up to speed. There are some other things in here that are related to legislative staff. We have increased the award to Legislative Staff Management Institute, LSMI, partly because of the strong response to that, but as well as a sort of continued identification of that as a huge resource and a top shelf program for legislative staff. Another thing, like grant identification, a lot of these I see as investments. This is sort of seed money to say, are there other areas where we can get grants that make sense? We vet these things very carefully, that essentially support our states, our legislatures. And then, a handful of other things. If there's something on here that, like, what exactly is that? I've read the description, it doesn't make sense to me, then let me know. But those are the major highlights: a big investment in staff, continued support for institutional research, and things like the Ethics Center that we always emphasize, and some money for some long overdue upgrades that we definitely are long overdue and taken care of. So Senator Bramble, once again, we'll follow that same process. I hope, one last footnote, I'm not sure, but I think Mark Dufresne, I heard some sticks rattling around in his background, and I noticed that he seconded the motion on the first round. So Mark, I just want to appreciate your environment and that you're participating as you are. So anyways, thank you, Mark, and thank you, everybody.
Are there any questions on these proposals? Tim, I have one question, and I'm going to, it's probably a little bit sensitive given the political environment, but the $187,000 for the Quad Caucus and Women's Legislative Network, I think that's appropriate. When we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, what's the partisan makeup of those programs? Do we focus as hard on those programs to make certain that we're getting a balance of political ideology? Do we put the same kind of emphasis on those programs for a diversity of ideologic perspective as we do ethnic and racial and gender?
Yeah, Well, the straight up answer, Senator Brown, was I don't know for sure the partisan breakdown on those. I mean, I could certainly speculate as.
No, it was more a rhetoric question rather than a data or a quota question. My point is that diversity, equity, and inclusion have become, in some quarters, dog whistles that mean exclude anyone that doesn't have a political ideology consistent with a majority of the groups. And not to be controversial or contentious, but I think that the trademark of NCSL is that we strive very hard to bring people together. And when we talk about equity and inclusion, and we talk about tolerance and diversity, if tolerance and diversity means I'm intolerant of anyone that's not like me, do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah. So I thanks for bringing it up. I do think all of those groups have participation from both parties, although it's probably disproportionately from one party, Democrats, obviously.
This wasn't looking for again, the data, but rather just pointing out that those terms should apply to philosophies as well as demographics.
Yeah. So that's kind of an easy thing for me to address, because as you know, but I'm glad you've given me this opportunity to kind of underscore it and put it in bold and italicize it. Our commitment to that kind of diversity, which is to say idea diversity, liberal, conservative, in between, is so paramount and so ingrained in all of our programs that if you look at what we do, whether it's programs in the Quad Caucus or programs at the summit or articles that we write, I would be very comfortable saying that we are highly attuned to that. So I think it's really important what you're saying in terms of making sure that diversity includes that whole range of ideological diversity, and it is top of mind for us. And so we will. But it's good to hear, have you say it, because I think that helps us reinforce it with our staff and our partners that this is a prime directive, to pull a Star Trek term, for how we function in this environment, which is, as you know, polarized, and a lot of the terms have become, take on meanings beyond. Of course, we've had the Quad Caucus. This is an ongoing commitment that we've had for years. So,
Tim, we are at our best when we are Americans first and foremost. NCSL is at its best when it is American legislators first and foremost. That has been the battle cry for NCSL. It's what sets NCSL apart from any other organization. I just wanted to highlight that we can't lose sight of that with any of these programs.
Yeah.
Danielle, you have your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to point out that there is a very small award in here. In fact, I think it's the smallest award. But in my opinion, I think it is the most important award. And I just want to thank NCSL for this, and just want to call it out. It is a little $11,000 award for what is defined as a recycling partnership. And I think it is one of the most valuable awards in here that is very exciting. And I think it impacts a lot of legislators, stakeholders, and the nation. And I think it is going to be extremely important, because this fills a space in the state that I think is extremely important. And the reason I say this is right now there seems to be a tremendous amount of discussion on this, a lot of entities that are very, very concerned about this subject. And there seems to be a vacuum of leadership that NCSL is uniquely positioned to be the leader of policy, good policy on this subject. And that is one of the reasons I brought it to NCSL staff as an idea. And I think this is seed money to see where this can go. But The reason I mentioned NCSL as being the only entity here to shepherd this is NCSL has a reputation that is honored and respected as being one that will not be swayed by corporate money or partisan politics. It is dedicated to good policy that will work in the states. And that is the goal, I hope, of this partnership, is to find solutions in this area that the states are struggling with. The states and localities are struggling with concerns that are multiple in stress points that they just, have so many components and so many stakeholders that are at the table, that some begrudgingly are coming to the table, some are eager to be at the table, and are all different levels of the political spectrum. And to have a neutral entity to bring them to the table, I believe only NCSL can do that, and really bring together the parties to negotiate and talk a private partner, public partnership to bring out, if anybody can bring good policy together, it's going to be NCSL. And I think that this partnership is the beginning of something that could really bring good, workable policy to the states and on this subject. And so I'm so very, very excited for this. And I really hope that there's going to be some great things that come out of this.
Danielle, it's interesting, in the background on your screen, it says voice of the recycling industry very prominently, and you just demonstrated why you are. So thank you. Good job. Any other questions about the supplemental, not supplemental, but the proposed new awards for fiscal year 22? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the new, what's called the proposed FY22 awards as presented.
So moved.
Make a motion.
Second.
Senator
Alvarado makes a motion. Who seconded?
Miller from Minnesota.
Thank you, Senator. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, I'll place it. Again, raise your hand if it's a yes vote. And if there are any dissenting votes, votes in opposition, speak up. Hearing none, I'll rule that the motion passes unanimously. We now move the next item on our agenda. Maureen Reel, apparently she dropped off because of challenges with her connection. So Caroline, do you want to give the Maureen's sponsorship report?
Yes, of course, I'd be happy to. And then Senator Bramble, we need to pass our budget along with the awards for FY22.
I was going to do that after we did the.
Oh, okay, not a problem.
I want to do the sponsorship reports, and then we'll move to the final business matters.
Sounds great. Okay, so if Kevin could pull up our board book, so it's just front and center. We have, I think, a 20-page report on our sponsorship, which is tremendous. While we went down in the number of sponsors this year, we're at 211 sponsors. We went up in money, as we've been talking about, over $3 million in revenue. And that is really because of our rise in platinum sponsorship. Again, we had 11 new platinum sponsors and then 3 upgraded sponsors. And of course, the Capital Circle sponsorship is tremendous too, having 5 at the Capital Circle level. And we're thrilled that even FY22 is looking really strong with new Capital Circle sponsors. When Kevin and I go out and fundraise, it's pretty rare that we pitch Capital Circle to a brand new sponsor that's never worked with us before. And we have 2 sponsors coming in at Capital Circle that we have not met and not worked with in the past. So I just think that's a tremendous, tremendous nod to NCSL and our brand and how strong we are in the space of being a bipartisan trusted organization that really delivers on strong programming and allows the private sector to be engaged and network with lawmakers and key legislative staff. So I want to thank my fellow NCSL employees that are on this call, because we really couldn't do it without you. And of course, all the legislators that are committed to our work, we couldn't do it without you and the staff. So thanks to everybody for making this year so strong for us. Okay, so what's up now? Our unrestricted it's kind of flattened out a little bit according to this graph, but we're just so happy that we did go over 3 million this year and that we are able to grant back in supplemental awards. And then Kevin, do you mind going back to those bar graphs that I think are just, sorry, the pie charts? Okay, I think this is really tremendous to look at because, and thanks for making it bigger for my older eyes. So just showing that while we don't have as many at the platinum level, the funding is there. So what is it, 24% of our sponsors are platinum, but they give at 42%. Gold sponsorship has diminished slightly, as well as silver, but the growth in platinum is really carrying us. And I think that's the biggest message I want to give to you right now. There's just a lot of value at that level. The new sponsorship is strong, having 37 new sponsors, and of course 11 of those are platinum, and then the rest is a split between gold and silver. I think it's 14 and 12 to make up that 26. And this list, although it's not numbered, is the 37 of those new sponsors. And again, you'll see that there's a nice mix between those three levels. All of the Capital Circle, again, were upgrades from either platinum or gold. So we didn't have any new Capital Circle, but we will in FY22. And then of course, we did have folks that downgraded, a lot of them in sort of the travel industry and for other reasons. But we're just so happy that they stuck with us and that they trust us, and we're hoping to get them back at their previous level. We have lapsed sponsors. Boards, directors, please take a look at that list. We're working hard to get those folks back on board with us. It's always hard to lose a sponsor, and especially one that we feel like we worked really hard with this past year. It was challenging to deliver on benefits when we weren't meeting face-to-face, but Kevin and I did really just so many meetings over this platform or on Teams to make sure that our sponsors were meeting with policy staff at NCSL, and also trying to get on webinars or even on meetings, future meetings, meeting with lawmakers, meeting with our board, executive committee, et cetera. So while we really tried to deliver, there were sponsors that just couldn't make it work. So offline, if you want to contact Kevin and I, if you know any of these folks or could help get them back in the fold, we'd really appreciate that.
Caroline, let's call out too. So some of these are just timing with fiscal year end and how. So Richard Ledbeater is on the call. So Esri's on this list, for example, but they have renewed at the Capital Circle level. So while we had to, just for accounting reasons, treat them one way for the end of fiscal year, they are still back in the fold at a higher level, actually.
Kevin, I'm really glad you brought that up, because there are a handful that are coming back. And of course, ESRI coming in at Capital Circle for FY22 is tremendous. So sorry that it's like right in the middle of the page and maybe people's eyes were drawn to that Richard had dropped, when in reality, they're coming back and at a high level. So thank you for bringing that up. There are a handful of others, and maybe if you scroll down further, it will even show those that we know are coming back, like American Airlines. Everytown for Gun Safety is another one that's coming up to Capital Circle. They had been participating with us, I think, at Gold. So again, you can review all of this at your leisure, but we'd really be grateful to work with you if any of our directors have contacts there to get those sponsors back in the fold. I guess, I wasn't really prepared to give this report, Maureen was, but I do this every day. So if you have any questions of me, be happy to entertain them at this time.
Are there any questions? Let me explain the strategy here, because the final business item is approving the foundation budget. I wanted to make certain that we had all relevant financial information. We've gone through the supplemental awards for fiscal year 21, the proposed awards for fiscal year 22. We've got a complete report of what the budget is with highlighting salaries, some changes and whatever. And now we've covered what's happened with our sponsors and sponsorships. So now we're prepared to take action on the proposed fiscal year 2022 budget. Are there any questions on any of the finances or any of the presentations we've had? Because approving the budget is really the heart of today's meeting.
Make a motion.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget.
So moved.
Second.
Ralph Alvarado and Angelo Pupolo have motioned and moved and seconded. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, I'll place it. All in favor, raise your hand. If there are any board members in opposition, now's the time to speak up. Unmute yourself and speak up. Seeing none, the motion passes unanimously. You know, our script says that we're supposed to be at 12:10 today. We're about 8 minutes ahead of schedule. I'd encourage every board member. I've been involved with NCSL as a legislator. I've been involved with the foundation as a board member for a few years. And it is remarkable what this organization is accomplishing. It is absolutely remarkable given the landscape with COVID, with the changing political landscape and such. It is incredible. I would encourage every board member to review the reports and all that this team, meaning every one of you that are on this Zoom, have been able to accomplish. Is there any other business to come before the board? Seeing none, then I would encourage everyone to attend Base Camp next week, and then the Legislative Summit, November 3rd to 5th. I think it may have been Danielle who said that we could have held a meeting in a box and people still would have come because of just cabin fever and wanting to get out. I look forward to a great attendance in Tampa. Look forward to it. Next board meeting will be Tuesday, November 2nd, over lunch. Chair will entertain a motion, final motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank
So
you.
moved.
See you soon. See you in Tampa, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
The meeting's
Thank you
adjourned.
so much.
Have a great day.
Great seeing
Bye-bye.
you all.
All right,
Good job,
bye-bye.
Kurt.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
man.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Caroline and Kevin. Great job today.
Hey, good luck. You too.
I'm about to make eagle, so
Turn your phone around. Let us see.
that's right. Ciao.
Bye. Thank you, Megan.